You know what nobody tells you about Italy? The past here is not behind glass. It is not in a museum. It is not a UNESCO site with a gift shop. It is a stone house where someone's espresso machine turned on at 7 this morning, where a child left their school bag by a door carved into a wall already 800 years old when Dante wrote the Divine Comedy. Italy has more continuously occupied structures built before 1000 AD than any other country. Most people walk past them without understanding what they are looking at. Some live their entire lives inside them without absorbing what they are sleeping inside. This is not about ruins. This is about houses where the continuity never broke, where someone has lived generation after generation without the chain snapping. From a world before the printing press, before the Renaissance, before Italy as a nation, all the way to this morning. 10 towns, 10 entries, ranked from remarkable to genuinely extraordinary. By entry 1, the concept of a new house is going to feel slightly absurd. Dawn reveals Alberobello's clustered trulli, their conical limestone roofs rising from the earth, a town of 10,177, where survival owes as much to tax law as to tradition. In the 1400s, families built homes with removable roofs, sidestepping property taxes and leaving behind a landscape both fragile and enduring. Inside, a resident notes, people live an autonomous, almost rich life, as if there were no solution of continuity with some period of ancient history. Modern touches, Wi-Fi and espresso machines nestle beside ancient stone, but daily life now unfolds under the gaze of millions. The reward is fame, and the cost is a slow erosion of privacy and routine, traded for the uncertain promise of prosperity. Far north, Civita di Bagnoregio clings to a shrinking tough cliff, its 11 residents living in the shadow of geological time. Settled since the 6th century by the Etruscans, the plateau crumbles grain by grain, each crossing of the lone footbridge a quiet act of faith. A steward reflects, each stone carries the memory of those who built it. We are merely its stewards. Here, the bargain is starker. Isolation preserves the town, but the cliff's slow collapse threatens to erase it entirely. Continuity, in both places, is a fragile inheritance. Matera's Sassi, once carved for shelter and later condemned as Italy's shame, now stand as a symbol of rebirth. In the 1950s, 1,500 residents were forced from these limestone homes, families uprooted by decree, their legacy branded unfit for modernity. A matriarch, whose children now sleep behind once sealed doors, reflects on the burden. She says, "We are just another link. These walls have seen more births than any apartment. Waking here is a ritual shaped by memory and duty, each day a negotiation with stone that outlasts generations." UNESCO's blessing in the 1990s brought restoration and boutique hotels, but also made the Sassi a prize few original families could reclaim. The cost, heritage preserved, but gentrification quietly advancing. San Gimignano's towers, frozen by law at medieval heights, cast long shadows over 2,500 residents. School children climb spiral stairs, parents brew coffee beneath fading frescoes, and teenagers like the Bianchi descendant joke about negotiating with history. A Bianchi descendant says, "The stone remembers more than we do. 1 million tourists now cross piazzas once reserved for locals." With fame comes the loss of privacy, authenticity traded for admiration. The chain of custodianship stretches thin as daily life becomes performance under the world's gaze. In these towns, preservation is rarely the fruit of conscious devotion or a well-laid plan. More often it is the result of forces indifferent to heritage, yet strangely protective in their neglect. The chain of continuity persists, not because these places were valued as treasures, but because they were overlooked, tucked into valleys, perched on cliffs, or hemmed in by poverty that made demolition and renewal unthinkable. The stone houses of Scano and Castelmezzano were never razed for highways or factories, not because anyone campaigned for their survival, but because the world passed them by. In Pitigliano, the labyrinth of tunnels and Etruscan walls endured centuries of marginalization. In Sperlonga, the stubbornness of fishermen and the slow retreat of the sea did more to shield the ancient stones than any law or monument plaque. When the world's gaze finally turned toward these places, it found not ruins, but living rooms where espresso machines hum beneath arches built before the First Crusade, and wireless routers blink beside windows that once framed the passing of Roman legions. Residents speak of entering a custody chain, inheriting not ownership but responsibility, a duty to negotiate, not dominate, the weight of accumulated time. A matriarch in Matera says you do not renovate a house like this, you negotiate with it. The walls remember more than you do. Here, neglect becomes a form of guardianship, and the ordinary rhythms of life, alarm clocks, school bags, bread rising in ancient ovens, carry forward a heritage that survives not by design, but by endurance. The paradox is clear. What was left behind, what was deemed unworthy of progress, now stands as a testament to the patience of stone and the quiet vigilance of those who live within its embrace. Dawn in Orvieto. Stone houses rise above the Umbrian plain, anchored in volcanic tuff shaped by Etruscan hands. In a kitchen carved centuries ago, a homeowner, descended from masons, prepares coffee, listening to the clock's quiet chime. The homeowner says, "Our house is part of a custody chain that began before the city was a city. We negotiate with the stone every day." The Orvieto Charter of 1998 forbids replacing old clay tiles, preserving the skyline as pilgrims saw it. Yet the ground below is restless, and every renovation is a gamble, each new floor a careful risk, as the tuff's fissures allow only so much weight. Continuity here means living with geological fragility, a pact written in stone and uncertainty. Southwest, Pitigliano's tough cliffs catch the morning sun, revealing a maze where Christian and Jewish histories are fused in the walls. The synagogue's doors open to a sanctuary where prayers have risen since the 16th century, its register of Hakamim unbroken for nearly 500 years. In a house above the old ghetto, a woman sets her alarm on a shelf, once used for Sabbath bread. The woman says, "The walls of my house predate my birth. We are part of a custody chain that links us to the ancestors who carved these tunnels. Here, broadband cables run alongside Hebrew lessons, threading modern life through spaces that once sheltered the persecuted. The trade-off is memory, preserved at the cost of convenience, a daily negotiation between ritual and change. On Lazio's coast, Sperlonga wakes to salt air and the slow retreat of the sea. A fisherman's house, its stones once part of Tiberius's villa, stands within reach of the spray. The fisherman says, "My house predates you, the stone remembers the empire, and we negotiate with it every tide." Coastal management rules now measure ambition in meters from the edge. Each storm redraws the line between endurance and loss. Castelmezzano clings to its limestone ridge, 150 kilometers northwest of Naples, where stone houses press so close to the mountain that the rock seems to breathe through them. A resident, hands dusted with flour, describes mornings shaped by bells and the faint hum of wireless internet. The Volo dell'Angelo zip line brought a rush of visitors, adventurers whose laughter funds the bakery and keeps the school open, but whose presence sends tremors through foundations laid 1,000 years ago. The population, once in the thousands, has dwindled to a fraction. Each family that leaves deepens the silence, making continuity a daily wager. Bassano Vecchia, 80 kilometers west of Genoa, stands in legal limbo. The 1887 earthquake left a skeleton of walls and arches abandoned for decades. In the late 1950s, artists arrived, drawn by the freedom to rebuild without blueprints or deeds. An artist custodian, surrounded by canvases and crumbling plaster, says they negotiate with the stone each day, respecting its memory. Every repair is provisional, made under the threat of eviction or bureaucratic delay. The community survives because it is tolerated, not protected. Artistic freedom is bought at the cost of certainty. Each petition and anxious glance at the post a reminder of how fragile their claim remains. In Scano, 130 kilometers east of Rome, tradition fades. The village's black dresses, once passed from mother to daughter, now emerge only for festivals. A matriarch, her hair pulled back, sits in a kitchen where an alarm clock ticks beside a tapestry. The stone is a custody chain we negotiate with every winter. The dresses and the rituals slip away. School bags replace ceremonial shawls, and inheritance grows more fragile as each year passes. Here, ordinary hours unfold inside rooms whose origins dissolve into centuries. The chain never broke, and each resident inherits not only stone, but the silent obligation to endure. In these towns, you do not simply inhabit a house, you enter a custody chain, negotiating daily with the weight of accumulated time.